Welcome to the Portage City Council meeting. Will you please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pastor Parnell, could you lead us in prayer?
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this evening. We thank you for the opportunity we have to gather here, Lord, to take care of the city's business. Father, our hearts are grateful for the freedom that we have here in the United States, of 250 years of freedom, 250 years of one nation under God. And we give you praise and glory for that. Now, Father, we pray for the guidance that we'll need, the Lord, to make these decisions. We pray, Father, also that you'll continue to protect our troops, their families, watch over our officers and our firefighters as well. This we pray in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Can we do the roll call?
Absolutely. Councilman Alvarez.
Here.
Councilwoman Weidenbach.
Here.
Council.
Here.
Here.
Vaz.
Here. Here.
Here.
All right. Did everyone have a chance to take a look at the minutes for the 6/2/26 meeting? I wasn't there, so I'm really relying on your guys' memory of that meeting.
Yeah. Motion to approve minutes.
I second that.
We have a motion and we have a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Perfect. We have communications, correspondence, and announcements from the mayor. I'll start with just the fact that thank you to everyone who got involved with the 4th of July. We ended up having quite a 4th of July. We had a really wonderful parade that had a huge number of people attend, and to put it really simply, I think everyone had a great time. Our fest, the weather did not cooperate as great with the fest for a good while of it. One of the challenges we dealt with was, were we still going to do the fireworks show? And in case anybody didn't know, we made the call to go with the fireworks show. And what was incredible is within about an hour and a half, we had people coming from not just Portage, but around the region who, for different reasons, either maybe wanted to see something fun after a rainy day, or that was the only day they could make. And I understand that there's always a competition each year to see who's got the best fireworks show in the region, but I think that we provided something really cool given the opportunity we had in that weather window. Thank you. Tongue-tied. Something that'll happen later in this meeting, and I only bring it up because I know that there might be people here to speak during the public comment section of the meeting. Bob and I had a chance, and we had a chance to talk as well about this. Yesterday, the Plan Commission voted unanimously to give a favorable review for the proposed ordinance regarding the creation of the technology campus zoning. I'll have more to say about that if you guys would like when we get to the first reading. But just to be clear about what that is, it came out of the fact that data centers are an extremely hot topic in Northwest Indiana, if not the hottest topic in Northwest Indiana. I don't mean hot like everybody likes them and everybody is excited when they come up. I mean like a heated topic. And one of the things that we had to address, as I said yesterday at the Plan Commission, I know Victoria was there and Melissa was there, so thank you guys for being there, is in Portage, there are 4 zoning codes that currently allow for data centers, meaning that you can buy land on them and basically you have the ability to build something that counts as it. And that's because our current code considers them to be warehouses that just happen to have computer servers in them. What we've done with the technology campus zoning, if approved, when it comes to it, it actually takes it that those 4 zoning codes no longer have that use. It goes into a new zoning code that doesn't exist on any piece of land. And again, we'll have time to talk about it when it comes, but for those who might be here to speak on it, I just want to clarify that what that's doing is it's redefining and then reorganizing where you can build that. As far as what we have on the agenda tonight, I had a question that I wasn't sure if it'd be appropriate to wait for the standing committee reports. Victoria or Colin, I forget who's the chair of the ordinance committee. Ferdinand, but you weren't out there. That's okay. But with the firearm discharge ordinance, you guys, I think, voted to refer it to the council. Did you want today to be the first reading, or did you guys want to wait till August? I say it because I put it on the agenda if you guys wanted, but I wanted to respect the ordinance committee's preference.
It should be on the agenda for a first reading.
Correct.
Got it. Okay. On that note, I believe we're good. Liz?
I just want to report that the State Board of Accounts is wrapping up their audit, and we're looking at the end of August for an exit conference, so any council member who's available, it will be probably about 1 to 2 in the afternoon. They do work on 10-hour days, Monday through Thursday, and they requested between 1 and 2 to set the meeting up because it might go a little bit longer. They have a lot of we have a lot of explanations to do as far as what the improvements are that the city has made for the last year. And I feel the audit went very good.
What was the date on that?
We haven't set a date yet. It's going to be probably the last week of July. As soon as we set a date, which it should be maybe Friday, we will have a date set. I will make sure everybody gets an email. They'll be emailing you also. So if you see something from the State Board of Accounts, open it. It'll have the date of the closing.
Anything else?
I'm done.
Cool. That'll bring us to petitions, remonstrances, and public input. If anybody is here to speak, you can speak for up to 2 minutes. I'll pound the gavel, and if you're ready, we ask that you give your name and that you write down your address on the spot there and speak as you need.
Hello, my name is Christopher Nelson. I'm a resident of Portage. And I saw something online in the news, and I think maybe a recorded committee meeting regarding BB guns. And I'm not sure how far along you've come with that discussion, but from my understanding, somebody found a BB in their yard and called the cops, and the cops said, well, we can't do anything because it's a BB. Now, I've seen that maybe some people think maybe it's a good idea to ban BB guns or ban firing of BB guns in the city limits, but I think that's going a little too far. I think that's attacking individual liberties. Somebody was irresponsible. They should have consequences. That individual should have consequences. But not me, because I didn't do it. I don't have a BB gun, but maybe I would like to have one in the future. I know how to use BB guns. I was trained in the military. I've shot, rocket launchers. I know how to use a BB gun. So I don't think that I should be restricted from being able to shoot one in a city. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody else to speak?
there's open seats up here if you need to use,
Oh, sorry. You're done.
while you were writing. Ma'am, there's open seats up here if needed.
Michael Cooper, 5455 Clem Road here in Portage. I want to speak this evening against the public comment proposal that is going to be on the agenda. A very confusing resolution that was presented at last month's meeting. Quite clear that the impetus for this is to limit and control future public comment around any future data center proposals. I've been to many public comments here in the city and have not seen any systemic issues that would merit the need for such executive control measures. Yet recent data center public hearings around the regions have been the focus of constituent outrage. In Hobart, we saw packed meeting rooms, hours of comment by justifiably irate and on occasion unjustifiably profane residents, metal detectors at the door, and the arrest of a resident simply because they did not want to give their name and address on the live stream. That's why I believe this is before you tonight, this resolution, not based on what has been the norm in Portage for decades, but what potentially is coming before Portage in the future. I understand the potential headaches for our boards and commissions that contentious issues like data centers that raise the civic engagement of our citizens. And I tell you, it has been a mess in Hobart and across the state, but this proposal will not fix the reality of data center public comment. They are still going to be long, they're still going to be contentious, and people are still going to be angry at you. There are two different public comments that need to be clearly defined in the proposal that this council is considering. One is public comment, like this section of the agenda, which is not required by state law, but granted solely at the benevolence of the chair for an opportunity for the members of the public to bring forward issues and concerns, and the limits on which, are mitigated at the voting booths. The other public comment is those made within the legally defined public hearing that are statutorily required before votes on various items such as budgets, primary plat, zoning changes, and variances. Access to them directly impacts access to checks and balances in the judicial branch. Therefore, it needs to be explicit in the resolution as to which regulations apply to which scenarios, and as arrest for disorderly conduct is the final solution in this rabbit hole that is being presented, if such a punishment and expense to the city is fitting for someone just going over 2 minutes of speaking. I further request the preferential treatment given to residents of Portage be removed from the proposal. We have many of our Hoosier neighbors in Wheeler, South Haven, unincorporated Porter County, whose quality of life, property, and livelihoods may be directly affected by decisions made by elected and appointed boards of the City of Portage. To deny or limit or devalue their voice in our decision-making is really, I think, against our values here in Portage. I believe it behooves our counselors to clearly define processes for them to extend time for constituents in speaking. Finally, I would also request the council include a resolution in the resolution of Public Bill of Rights addressing free speech, civil rights, and access. While the mayor has kind of control over the room or the chair of the
And I'm
committee.
sorry, we're at 2 minutes.
Okay.
So there
Mayor,
we go.
I just
Thank
have
you.
another paragraph.
No, we're at 2 minutes. You can sit down. Thank you.
Okay.
Go ahead and sit down. Thank you.
I mean, I
No,
have
you're at your 2-minute limit. I was watching it. So I think the thing to understand is whatever you guys do with public comment, right now, the chair is the person that controls the public comment. And I try to do it as fairly as I can, giving everybody up to 2 minutes. But at the end of the day, I do think it is a great idea to have some written rules that we stick to, whether I'm the one chairing the meeting or whether one of you guys are, or a future where I'm not the mayor. I understand that at the last meeting, a draft was presented that you guys discussed, and my view of it is I don't know if there's 2 council people that agree with everything or anything in particular in that draft. I've got my own views about what I think is a good public comment policy, but I think to put it simply, I think that in the long term, it shouldn't just be the discretion of the chair to make the rules based on who the chair is. Anybody else like to come and speak for up to 2 minutes?
Hello. My My name is Jessica Zabo. I'm a resident of Portage, and I did speak yesterday. I was unaware of the meeting yesterday, and I was met with locked doors. So me and my 8-year-old twins banged on a door until I could come in to speak. Today, Mayor Bonta, last night you commented back on my call for you to continue to be the innovative leader you strive to be by placing a ban on any new data centers from being built in our great city. Here's what you said. It's nearly impossible to ban something permanently in Indiana that is legal in the state. Property done zoning goes a very long way, though, to protect from ban. And that's what we're doing. And Mayor Bonta, my response to that is that we need to figure out a way on how to attempt to, it appears that you're trying to figure out a way on how to attempt to tame the dragon from doing harm when it comes. When or if we start today, we surely can stop it before it's too late. I ask all who are in the position to vote, all of you, each and every one of you on this council, to really think long and hard about approving anything. I beg for my children, for all of the residents here, and all of the most precious land that we have been given, being here in Portage. As I said, I call on each and every one of you to protect and defend not only current residents, but the future residents, and most of all, our most precious resource, the environment, and that beautiful lakefront. Today, I am asking for there to be a ban and to stop even considering what if and how can. I ask if we start today, we can stop the dragon before it starts and it's too late. Thank you so much, and thank you, Mayor Bonta.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak for up to 2 minutes? It's good to see you.
Can you make sure you sign in, please?
Jeremiah Montgomery, 2530 Founders Parkway. Good evening, council members. Again, my name is Jeremiah Montgomery, and I happen to serve on the Planning Commission. And I wanted to briefly share why I voted in favor of recommending the Technology Campus Ordinance to the Common Council. Over the past several days, I've spent considerable time reading the ordinance, asking questions during our meeting, and listening to the discussion. And one thing became very clear to me. This ordinance is about establishing a regulatory framework, not approving a specific project. I understand that data centers are a topic that generates strong opinions, and I respect that many residents have legitimate questions and concerns, as do I. But I also think it's important to distinguish between creating standards and improving a development. To me, this ordinance gives the city the ability to establish expectations in advance rather than waiting until a proposal is before us and trying to determine what the rules should be at that point. I was encouraged to learn that in developing these standards, the city looked to other communities and incorporated measures addressing issues that are often raised by residents, including bufferings, setbacks, landscaping, noise, lighting, and the requirement for closed-loop cooling systems to reduce water consumption. Most importantly, I came away with the understanding that adopting This ordinance does not mean the city has decided a technology campus or data center is coming to Portage. Rather, it gives the city a clearer framework for evaluating any future proposal and determining whether it's the right fit for our community. Whether a future project is ultimately approved should depend on its own merits, but I believe having thoughtful standards in place before that day comes is a prudent planning practice. For those reasons, I respectfully support the ordinance and appreciate the work that went into developing it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to come up and speak for up to 2 minutes? Would anyone else like to come up and speak? Hearing none, I will close the public comment. And we will proceed with reports from standing committees. And I apologize, I asked a question for ordinance just to make sure we had something done right. But if ordinance committee would like to go first, please feel free to go ahead.
So we did have several ordinances that we reviewed, about 5 of them, which one of them we will hear tonight for the firearms and ranges. We are looking at having ordinances amended that deal with dead trees, certificate of completion, also looking at definitions in notices from the public nuisance from code enforcement, and we're also looking at let's see, firearms. Correct me if I'm wrong, Attorney. 4? Okay. I just had extra notes on one of them, apparently. So again, tonight we'll hear the ordinance on the firearms and ranges, and everything else will move forward in our next meeting.
So let's see, sometime in August, I'm going to be asking for a meeting for the budget committee to meet, not asking for a report tonight, but just to kind of put you guys on a notice that we'll be looking to schedule a budget committee meeting in August to go over some things. Not necessarily early, but at least getting in a pattern of, getting there a little bit sooner. That'll get us to reports from city officials. Chief Candiano, did you want to come up? Cool.
All right. Real quick, first, I wanted to address something that came up in the last meeting during the public comments. There was an individual, I believe his name was Calais, that had a couple questions about flock cameras. Obviously, there were some questions asked. It takes a little bit of time to process what was said, so I actually rewatched the video, and I just wanted to comment on that real quick. I did see that there was a post that we made no attempt to answer the questions, and well, this is the place where I would answer those questions, so I just want to run through those real quick. There was a question on what we are doing to prevent the misuse of flock cameras. Obviously, flock is a huge thing that's a big topic out there right now. Flock and data centers, let's hit them both today. So we do have policies in place that dictate when and how flock can be used. We do not make traffic stops based on flock alone. We either have a traffic infraction or a confirmation through NCIC or IDAX for stolen cars, warrants, things like that. So although flock may give us an indication that there is a possible stolen car or something like that, we have to independently verify that through those searches through the state or through the federal database. So I think that's a misconception that we get a flock hit and we just go stop a car. Doesn't work that way. Flock does not have radars, at least ours don't. They're not used for speed. Nobody's getting tickets based on flock. Interesting fact, you do have the ability to avoid flock cameras. You can actually look them up and see where they're at, and you can pretty much get anywhere in the city by driving around them if you really want to. So, because I've heard the argument said, your cell phone tracks you, which it does, and people say, well, I voluntarily allow that cell phone to track me. Well, you can avoid the flock cameras if you really want to. So the other question was, where do we draw the line for what we use them for? So we use them for investigating crimes that we're having trouble solving. finding criminals who are eluding us, locating stolen vehicles, et cetera. I'm not sure what other uses was being asked for. Those are what we use them for. We would intend to continue using them for those things. You know, policing is becoming harder. We have people that are less and less willing to cooperate. We had a shooting up at the lakefront park on the 4th of July. I think 20 to 25 rounds were shot. We got one call. The only person who called us was the guy who got shot. Park was full of people. Nobody called us. So it's tools like this that help us solve crimes. And we are working that case. We've got some solid leads now based on Flock. So I've been asked, what are some anecdotal stories? I could spend an entire day here and tell you crimes that we've solved with the addition of having Flock cameras. So just wanted to share that. And then somebody had asked for the copy of our policy. We do have that available. So if Clay happens to be watching, I can get you a copy of our policy. Just need to reach out through the city's website for a APRA request so we can get it to you. I didn't have any contact information to send it to him, but kind of wanted to just go over that because it's not a secret. We're not hiding anything. If there's information you want from us, we will share it. I just need a little bit of time to gather it. So,
Chief,
so-
I know that,
yeah.
oh, sorry, I'm going to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
If you're
Go
still on the subject, I was, before you changed, I had
Nope.
a question.
Yep, go ahead.
I think we talked about this, so, but just to like get it, is it right that it's like my understanding that I see people who are either complaining or protesting or being upset about Flock cameras online? And it seems to me like Flock as a company, and if I'm incorrect, please feel free to correct this. It seems like Flock as a company has a lot of different features that cities can pay for, but I think that there are people who assume that because this is a feature that Flock offers, every city must have it. My understanding is that there are features Flock has that Portage doesn't utilize, maybe because of either budget reasons or it just doesn't fit our needs. Am I describing that accurately, or?
No, I think you are, because we've been having a conversation internally about it recently, and some people were saying there's been some information coming out about some other things that they're working on or that they can do. First of all, we don't have the budget to ask for it to do anything else, and I don't think that we really are interested in any of those things at this time. We are using it for exactly what I told you. We have a crime. There's nobody around to give us any information. We find a vehicle that left the area. We start working it back from that. A stolen car, we get a hit on a stolen car. We get behind the car, we run it, we confirm whether it is or not stolen. If it's not stolen, then, again, Flock is a tool. It's a tool like everything else. Investigations are getting harder. Technology is growing, which is making it easier for criminals. For us to not use technology to make it easier for police is just dumb, in my opinion. I mean, people want us to solve crimes. This is a way to solve crimes. So yeah, maybe there's some other stuff they can do. Those are what we're using them for. Those are the only things that we are paying for. Those are the only things that we have access to. Since you brought it up, another question that came up, there was some concern about sharing it with federal agencies. I'm assuming this has to do with some of the ICE stuff. So our cameras are shared with NICTY, which is the Railroad Police, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, the U.S. Marshals, the FBI, the National Park Service, the Veteran Affairs Police, and the U.S. Postal Inspection Services. Don't really think there's anything controversial in there. To me, it makes sense that we would share with those, considering we have the railroad that comes through here. I don't know why you wouldn't want to help find missing and exploited children. U.S. Marshals is pretty self-explanatory. They're looking for mainly violent criminals that have warrants that they're trying to find. We have a national park in our area, hence the National Park Service, Veterans Affairs, and U.S. Postal Inspectors. So I think there was some concern that it was, our information was going everywhere, but that's the gist of it. So. Yeah, so I know this is probably one of many conversations that I will stand here and have about Flock over the next couple of months, I assume, but I just wanted to get some of that information out there.
Well, and
Do you
Chief,
have
I think
anything
that-
further? Yeah, you have anything
I know
further
that
on
we talked about getting a public information
Yep.
night, and I know how that goes with like my Mayor's Monday, like 100 people say they're coming, and then like 12 people come, but I think being able to offer the opportunity soon for you guys to give like a presentation on what you do, and I don't know if it's considered like safe or confidential show how it like works from like a camera standpoint, but like being able for the public to ask questions and understand the Portage policy and the features that we utilize. I know Michigan City did one recently, and I don't know if you went, but I think some of our officers went to kind of review how that went and maybe what we could learn from that experience.
Yeah, we're fine with doing something like that. There's no secret to it. I mean, we got no problem sharing with the way that we use the technology, what it can and can't do, at least what we have the capability of doing with it. We've got data on what some of the crimes we've solved and things. There's really no way to put your finger on that because it's so many. It's so many times that we've used it. I've talked recently about our 2 homicides that we had that we've got, successfully got guilty verdicts on. Flock was part of those cases. Would we have won it without? Potentially. But it's just another piece of the puzzle. Somebody says they were nowhere near Portage. They were never there. They couldn't have committed the crime until we had their car, a block away from the crime scene. Stuff like that is golden in a case. And, as a family member of somebody who's having a family member who was murdered, I would hope the police would have access to something like that so that we aren't trying to explain that in court. We can say, nope, this person was here. So again, yeah, I'm ready to defend it and explain what we do moving into the future. So maybe we can set something up for that. But again, I wanted to answer his questions because it was something that he had brought up at the last meeting and I hadn't had a chance to respond to. So,
Sure.
So real quick, since I'm talking long and I know Chief Crail wants his time. Calls for service for the month, 3,096, about 103 calls per day. Summertime, we're busy. I think that's pretty much that story. I want to thank all our officers that worked the 4th of July. Long day. We were prepared for a massive amount of people being downtown for the entirety of the day. What we got was a massive amount of people downtown for a short period of time. So that being said, I want to thank the city for realizing the need for public safety and financing it appropriately. I have a concern every year that we're not going to have enough people down there to work that, and that has been met by you all who control the money and allowing us to have the people down there to be safe. So piggyback on that, I want to thank our reserves. Again, they did not get paid. We had several of them that worked 18 hours that day. Completely volunteer work, on a holiday, out there, rain, heat in the morning, rain in the afternoon, 18 hours, pretty amazing stuff. So wanted to thank them. And then the last thing I will say is I think our contract is going to be discussed tonight. I'm more than happy to come up and talk about that. But I think the work that we are doing out there, that the officers are doing, that I continually come in here every month and explain, we had this case, we had that case, we solved this, the amount of work we're doing. It's nice to see that this contract is being considered because I think that they are putting in the work that deserves that. So again, I can come back up and speak if need be for that, but I just want to thank the city for taking a look at that and considering what is on the table. So. Anything else? Okay.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Thank you.
Chief Crail, did you want to come up? No pressure to, follow all that. People don't even realize about the fire cameras around town. That was the dumbest joke I've ever made. I'm sorry.
Good evening. I certainly won't be as long-winded as Chief Candiano. However, what he was saying was very relevant, and I do appreciate your explanation. Like he stated, it is summertime. Our calls have also been increasing exponentially. From May to June, we had a 27% increase in our call volume. As you can imagine, June 11th, the night of the major storm, was quite the undertaking, and the following day. It happened to be one crew that was working both of those days, and within both of those days, in a 48-hour period, they ran 95 calls. As you can imagine, that's moving quite a bit when the average call that we are on takes approximately 58 minutes per call. So to spread all of that out over the course of that 48 hours was a lot, quite the undertaking. Being said, I would like to take this opportunity to say thank you and acknowledge all of the department heads that were working that night in such a strong effort for the cleanup and for the response. It was quite the undertaking. As you can imagine, you all were affected, and I'm sure received several phone calls regarding all of your districts and how they were affected by this. I know the north side really got hit hard. I'm glad that everything is getting back to normal at this point, but definitely want to say thank you to all the department heads that were involved in the success of that. We do have a couple personnel that are still in process. They've been in process for a little while. We will be full staff after that point. Intermittent apparatus issues with the air condition and the cottonwood that was flying around causes problems for everything. So, also, before I go, I do just want to say thank you also to Sandy McDaniel. We had some issues with developers on the south side of the city. They were kind of impeding our response areas. Sandy took it upon herself to really head up the response and get on them to follow the fire code and to quit violating our fire code in order for us to be able to respond to certain areas. So I do appreciate her assistance with that, and she was a great asset and helped us out tremendously. Like I said, I would keep it much shorter than Chief Candiano. Do you have any questions for me?
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tracy, did you have anything you wanted to put in? It's okay if I know you guys have just had a busy couple of weeks.
Good evening. So the tornado hit us. So it hit the plant. So when he said the north side, it hit the plant. We lost a bunch of solar panels. Trees came down on it. It literally ripped 100-year oaks out of the ground like they plucked it. I mean, they just came right out of the ground. Luckily, it jumped over the plant itself. So we were able to continue operating. But over the last few weeks, we have been operating. We're still running at about 5 million gallons a day, which is normally about 3 million. During the storm, we were at 14 million. So with that being said, we still have a lot of sump pumps connected to our system. So residents need to understand it does more damage to their house and their basements by having the sub pumps connected. Because when the water can't keep up, it's going to come into their basements. So we had lots of calls on stuff like that. We just had, Stormwater had an audit with IDEM today. They did really well. The city did great. I mean, street department was wonderful, park was wonderful. They were very happy with that. So I'm very proud of everyone in the city for doing that. Otherwise, I mean, we've just been busy with all the rain. Every time it rains, we're just getting more and more.
Tracy, if I could ask you, I believe that it is against, I don't know if it's state law or city ordinance to have your sump pump connected to the sewer system. I forget which one it is, but if you could clarify.
I think it's both.
Both?
Believe it's both.
And I think that there's a lot of people in the city, especially on the west side, who historically people did that. And now we have people who might be the second or third generation of homeowners. I don't mean to say that you're living in your parents' house. I mean, you might be the third or fourth, second family to own your house. And what I mean by that is you might not even realize it's connected. I think we've had that happen before during some bad rains where people call, they think it's something on the city side. We discover that that was the case. And then they, maybe not panic, but they say, well, we didn't know that. And it's like, they very well might not have, because some of these issues go back years when people were connecting the pumps. Yes. I have tried, and it's funny, I've tried to put this on Facebook multiple times, like, guys, know that this is the policy, this is what you want to do to avoid basement flooding. I don't know what it is about that algorithm. It's like the lowest reaching post I ever have is about sump pumps connecting to the sewer system.
Yeah.
But if anyone's watching this meeting, I just want to think it's a great time once again to highlight not to do that and check and see.
Yeah, they usually don't know. There's got to be a way to extend our program. Some of the other cities I've seen where they have spoke to realtors, so when houses are selling, it's one of the inspection points that they look at, and it has to be disconnected before the house could sell. Because that is true. Most people don't know theirs is hooked up. It might have happened 40, 50 years ago, someone did it, and they sold the house, and they just don't know. So, I mean, it's by no fault. And others just believe they want to get rid of the water in their yard, and this is the easiest way. They don't understand that we're not a combined sewer. We are separate from stormwater. Because a lot of cities are combined. So it's a lot of, I mean, it's just educating. We continue to educate. But it'll eventually get there. I mean, you'll always have a few, but we'll eventually get there. I do want to bring up, so the utilities lost a member of our family, and the street department did too, in the last month. It's been a hard month. John Gasner was an operator at our wastewater plant for 20 years. This one's a hard one. We're having a celebration of life tomorrow at Sycamore Room for him from 1 to 6, so I'd like to invite everyone who would like to attend to give condolences to his wife and son. His son, stepson, Jake Ryan, works for the Parks Department, and his wife, Dawn Gasner, was a member of the 911 dispatch years ago. She's since retired from that, but the other one was an unexpected loss of Glenn Engel. His was very unexpected. We didn't expect it. He's with the street department. He's been with the street department, I believe Randy said 26 years. His mother will be having a celebration of life at the Sycamore Room in August 16th from 1 to 6. So I just want to invite everyone and just keep their families in your prayers. Any other questions for me?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That'll get us to the introduction of ordinances. These would be first readings, generally speaking. We have ordinance 2608, updating, amending Article 3, firearms and ranges. I think the tradition now, Dan, is that you do the reading for us.
I believe that's how we're doing this.
Hallelujah.
Yeah. All right. Ordinance number 26-08, an ordinance of the City of Portage, Indiana, amending Chapter 54, Article 3 of the City of Portage Municipal Code entitled Firearms and Ranges. Let the record reflect that this ordinance has been read in its entirety. Before I stop, I did want to do a couple summaries. First of all, let's all remember, Indiana law preempts any local regulation pertaining to firearm possession, registration, carrying, or other forms of firearm ownership, but provides no direct preemption of firearm discharge. Translated, that means this ordinance is not changing anyone's right to own or carry firearms or sell them. That is all regulated by state law. This is simply defining a couple spring and air-loaded style of weapons. It is updating our definition of a firearm to match the state code. We are also separating discharge of weapons generally from discharge of firearms and providing slightly different exceptions for the regulation of the discharge of general weapons and firearms. Thank you.
Thank you.
And may I also point out, it does have 2 different tiers of fines or penalties as well.
Thank you. Forgot about the yes. Yep. So if the penalties differ based on the firearms, we put it so that firearms are the greater of the fines.
Thank you.
Thank you. That'll get us to ordinance 2609, amending zoning ordinance.
All right, ordinance number 26-09, an ordinance of the City of Portage, Indiana, amending Chapter 90, Article 2 and Article 3 of the City of Portage Municipal Code entitled Zoning. Let the record reflect that this has been read in its entirety. For any member of the public who would like a full copy of this, they are available to view, to take pictures of, at both the clerk treasurer's desk on the first floor and at the planning department's desk. So this has been available since publication about 10 or 20 days ago.
Cool. We have ordinance 2610, amending salary ordinance.
All right, ordinance 26-10, an ordinance establishing the amount of salaries and compensation to be paid to all appointed employees and officers of the City of Portage, Porter County, Indiana, for the year 2026. Let the record reflect that this ordinance has been read in its entirety. Liz, if you want to do any summary, but basically, police, fire salaries were both adjusted, and also I think the public works salaries were adjusted based on collective bargaining. Were there any others?
Public Works was not adjusted. They
Oh,
were
was not.
adjusted before.
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant-
IT was adjusted, again, according to the CBAs that were passed. The police are in here currently, and as long as the ordinance, or contracts passed today, this will be up to date.
Okay. That'll get us to ordinance 2611, Simon Southeast Project Bond.
All right, so these are two bond ordinances for the two different phases of the Simon Southeast projects. This is, in layman's terms, the Target and BJ's. So bond counsel from Indianapolis has prepared these ordinances to allow for the closing of the bonds to help those developments. Bond counsel did ask if maybe the council was interested, the rules could be suspended to pass these tonight so that the bonds could close later this month. That being said, ordinance number 26-11, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Portage, Indiana, authorizing the issuance of the City of Portage, Indiana economic development revenue bonds and approving and authorizing other actions in respect thereto for Simon Southeast Project. Let the record reflect that the ordinance has been read in its entirety.
Motion to suspend.
Second.
So we have a motion to suspend, and we have a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So that
No.
one passed by the suspension.
Motion to
So now, now you do the motion to adopt.
Second.
So we have a motion,
Who seconded that?
Penny. So we have a motion to adopt. Any discussion? Hearing none.
Dan, can you just quickly, this is part of what we did last month with the economic development.
Yes,
area,
so, correct. If the council recalls, last month, there was an economic development agreement in front of you over the Simon Southeast and Southwest projects. The bonds are part and parcel of that economic development agreement, so this is kind of like in furtherance of making sure that these projects are funded, and also the agreement regulates the projects.
And Dan, if I'm correct, the RDC has one more final vote at the end of this, am I correct?
Well, the Economic Development Corporation has forwarded these ordinances through their resolutions recommending adoption. I believe that the RDC and EDC both send that recommendation. I can't, I'm
That's okay, I just wanna make
I'm
sure I
not a
got the
bond
order
counsel,
right.
but
Any other questions or discussion? We had a motion and a second, correct? Yes. I'm getting better at checking this. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Then it passed. That'll get us to ordinance 2612, Simon Southwest Project Bond.
all right, ordinance number 26-12, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Portage, Indiana, authorizing the issuance of the City of Portage, Indiana economic development revenue bonds and approving and authorizing other actions in respect thereto, Simon Southwest Project. Let the record reflect that the ordinance has been read in its entirety.
Motion to suspend.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to suspend. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Mr. Cherry, I'm sorry I didn't get to see you before we came downstairs. Are we?
Well,
Oh, I'm so
no.
sorry. We have the motions on it still. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It got suspended and that passed. Sorry.
Motion to
Motion
adopt.
to Second.
We have a motion to adopt in a second. I'm going to ask if there's discussion, but I want to say, Mr. Cherry, was there anything that you wanted to check on that? Are we good? Okay, thank you. So we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passed. All right, that gets us to matters considered by the council. We have Resolution 2612, adopting internal CT financial policies and procedures. Liz, I was stuck in traffic on the way back from the last meeting, so I wasn't here to cheerlead this for you, but
Thank you.
my hope is that the city council has had time to review this, because, to put it really simply, these are great procedures already being followed, but submitting them in ordinance, I think, is vital for us for future audits, but also just to, quite frankly, demonstrate that the work that's being done matches what's written. That's my view of it. But any other discussion or motions? I'm sorry.
Can you explain, Liz, a little bit about this for those that were not at the last meeting?
Yes, I can. So last year, the State Board, for our State Board of Accounts audit, the city was cited seven findings of noncompliance, and they were repeat findings dating back years of noncompliance and lack of internal controls. I had, along with my staff, write up CAPs, corrective action plans. We had to, for the State Board of Accounts, write up CAPs, which were our corrective action plans for these noncompliance findings, and submit them to the State Board of Accounts, which they approved. The resolutions in front of you this evening are those CAPs that establish standard operating procedures and adhere to internal controls for the city that align with the best practices of the State Board of Accounts, and to ensure all responsible parties understand their roles. Again, there are 7 of them: annual finance report, bank reconciliation, dispersing activities, overdrawn cash balances, payroll activities, receipting, and CFA, which is our grants. They very explicit. If there's any questions, I do have the persons that helped write these up at this meeting. Tammy Burke sitting at the end of the console, and also Carrie Belt also helped, along with the State Board of Accounts and our city attorney, which it took us probably about a total of 4 to 5 months to get them correct. And then we had already turned these into the State Board of Accounts before December 31st of this year. So we're bringing them to you after tweaking them a little bit better, and the State Board of Accounts, again, approved them.
Liz, if I'm all right to speak, and I don't want to speak out of turn, so if anybody's a parliamentarian, if I'm doing something wrong, I had a question, and maybe this is a Tammy question or a Dan question, but what is the enforceability of these? So my understanding, and I'm saying this as someone supportive, right? If your office was found not to be following the policy, as written, is it just a ding from the State Board of Accounts, and it's something that's reflected? Because I know at one point we discussed, could Board of Works just approve this as a city policy? And the feedback was it needed to be an ordinance. And I just think that you gave a really good answer, and I thought that explaining why could help here too.
Okay, the State Board of Accounts recommended that we bring it to the fiscal body of the city, which is the City Council, for approval, so that as long as our office is abiding by the rules and regulations, but what we needed was also the departments to abide by the rules and regulations. And this governs not just the clerk treasurer's office, but also the rest of the city.
And I think that's a great answer, that you guys as the fiscal body, hypothetically, if I'm breaking rules and Liz doesn't care, I promise Liz does care, and I try not to break them. But but what I mean by that is, it reflects you guys as the fiscal body making sure that those matters are being handled with money correctly, which is why it would run through you, not the Board of Works, which in this matter is more the contracting and to some extent executive committee of the city.
Which is basically also like all the grants, which is the CFA, also any bonds that are we have out there. We're getting audited on everything. Years ago, we didn't get audited on by utilities. They went in depth in this audit to audit the utilities, which I was very shocked about, and also our bonds, our CFA bonds. We will be getting audited every year, and my office, the clerk treasurer's office, has the right to impose our own internal controls for my office, but not for we do for the city to a certain extent, but the fiscal body is the one who should be enforcing them, and that's the City Council.
Liz, is it my fault that we're getting audited every year? And before you say yes, is it because of the $1 million federal grant?
That's what it's for, because we're over, it was 1.5 million, now it's down to 1 million. So anytime we have grants over $1 million, totaling over $1 million, then we will get audited. And truthfully, my office is happy to be audited every year because we're showing improvements every year.
I think it also creates a teamwork between the different departments as well as council.
And I want to thank all the department heads too, because they have been really very helpful this last year, from last year to this audit, as far as working with the clerk treasurer's office. Also, the mayor has been very helpful, and anybody involved with anything that we've ever, the marina, which is a department head, and also our city attorney, who has got a massive experience with the government.
Now that we've all
I
patted
can't, I
each
can't
other
say,
on the back.
can
Yeah,
I,
no, no,
I
absolutely,
have
go
to
ahead.
also thank my staff. My staff has been ingenious, and as far as coming up with different ways to basically gather information and to work with the department heads. I think we've become very close with most of the department heads, and we appreciate their help.
That's important, so thank you.
I'll make a motion to adopt.
Second?
So we have a motion to adopt and a second. Any discussion, I guess, in addition? And if not, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And passed.
Thank you guys very much.
So we have, up next, we have Resolution 2613, establishing rules for public comment. As I stated earlier, I think that everybody might see the benefit of a written public comment policy. I know that I don't necessarily get the impression that the draft that was presented at the last meeting really pleased anyone, including me. I have thoughts about rules for public comment, but to put it really simply, I'm not asking for this to be tabled, but I do think that if we're going to have some discussion about it, I think some open discussion and maybe some continued communication between members of this body, even Liz, myself, might be beneficial. How much we need to talk in the open about it, right here today, I would leave up to you guys based on what you want to do, like motions to discuss or motions to, what have you, but I definitely don't think that this is ready for passing, in my opinion. But like I say, that's just me.
So this is resolution number 26-13, a resolution establishing rules for public comment at city council and other board or commission meetings in the city of Portage, Indiana. This was something that was assigned to me. Just as a comment, I think it's important to state that under Indiana law, Indiana Code 5-14-1.5-3.3, conduct of meetings in certain entities, the state law does provide a governing body to allow attendees to speak, but there is absolutely the leeway for a body to regulate and take common sense approach. This is Part E. A governing body may adopt reasonable rules or policies governing the conduct of a meeting, including any of the following: reasonable restrictions on time allotted for attendees to speak on a topic, reasonable steps to maintain order during a meeting with respect to attendees and the elected officials of the governing body, a procedure for the presiding member of the governing body to issue warnings to attendees who disrupt a meeting. Again, this is based on state law, so any adjustments or whatever I can take back, work on, bring it back, but also there's always this, we see at some of these heated public meetings, like police escorting people out, like that's not necessarily an arrest. So that is just a dismissal from the room. So this does not talk about arresting anybody. This is literally just if someone is declared out of order, if they don't leave, then we would just escort them out. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. That's kind of like so that's what's before you is this resolution. It was tabled last time. I did make the adjustment to move up to 2 minutes and 30 seconds. I did clarify the differences between public hearing on a topic and the general public input session that the city council provides to the public. So I made those two changes based on the conversation from last month. But that's what's before you. Thank you.
And I just want to clarify too, Dan, you've done everything that you've been asked to, when it comes to the council, getting a framework, getting feedback. Like I say, I'm happy to have a discussion. Until rules are adopted, I'm trying my best to be fair when it comes to how we manage public comment, but I think it's good to have a written policy. I don't know if we're ready yet, but I would leave that to you guys based on what you want to do here. I don't know if I'm not the biggest fan on making special committees, but like if there's a group of people that want to discuss it, I just wanted to kind of be open-ended about, I see a long-term need for us to have some written rules for public comment, but I don't necessarily think I'm doing a bad job just yet.
Dan, question, where does it differentiate between a public hearing and public comment? Because I'm seeing section 1 says, common council, any commission, and any board of the city of Portage shall provide opportunity for public comment regarding the final action on agenda items as determined by the presiding officer or is governed by state statute. That would be on any final action on any agenda
Yes,
item.
so whenever we have a public hearing on, let's say it's an amendment to, like at the Plan Commission, okay? So we had the public hearing on what was the Plan Commission's recommendation going to be for amending the zoning ordinance. That is a public hearing on a specific agenda item that would be part of what you just read in section 1. So the proposal right now is that the general guidelines of 2 minutes and 30 seconds and things like that, and being recognized and coming to the podium, that would be the same, but my understanding of the discussion last month was that we wanted to make sure it was clear that these rules would apply to the public hearing on agenda items and also the city council's time, like earlier today, where we took general input from the public. So I was trying to clarify that these rules would apply to both instances of public input.
Sure. My concern with this is, it doesn't say public hearing. It says, provide an opportunity for public comment regarding the final action on agenda items. I would read this to be any agenda item that's going to have final action, the city council and any board, any commission shall provide, which means we're going to have to provide opportunity before each final action on every agenda item. Am I misreading that? Because not every agenda item requires a public hearing. Only certain types of things require
Right.
formal public hearings.
So that's why I put in there, as determined by the presiding officer or as governed by state law. For all of these things where you have to have that public comment period, it's in state law that you have to have that period for a zoning amendment. You have to have that period for, fill in the blank. So that's why I put that. If that's not clear enough, I can adjust.
Right.
That's fine.
I guess I see where you're going with that. That makes sense. Like as determined by the presiding officer, though, my concern there is, again, not you specifically.
Okay, I can take
Gets to
it.
pick and choose which agenda items gets public comment before an agenda item is voted on. If it's not a public hearing, which is only certain things, zoning changes, that type of thing, the presiding officer gets to determine what gets public comment and what
Yeah.
does not.
And there may be times, I was trying to stay flexible, there may be times where, for whatever reason, the presiding officer decides that it's a hot topic and would like to invite public comment. So this remained flexible for that, but again, based on how we want to do this, I can amend the language. These proposals are living documents, so let me know what you want.
I have a question regarding multiple speakers reiterate at the same point, continued reputation may be curtailed at the time of management. If somebody comes up and speaks about whatever speaker one spoke about, they may have 2 minutes and 30 seconds, but they can spend the first minute and a half talking about what's already been discussed. But they may have something else to discuss at the last minute. So I mean,
Well, I mean, that's going to be up to each individual speaker to organize their thoughts, because state law does allow for, and I mean, I'll go to the extreme, circumstance, the 10th person to come up and say, I don't want the color blue on, a city flag. Okay, well, we've heard that, thank you. That gives the presiding officer the right to do that, and now it's up to the person to say, okay, well, I had something else to say, we can allow that. But it does cut down the repetitive, because once, again, under state law, once you have heard the comment, people can just come up and say, I agree with, and just move on. It allows the presiding officer to govern some of that, and that is a reasonable restriction.
And that's where I would agree that it's and I want to be very careful about something. A reasonable restriction might be reasonable, and it might be legal. It still might be a restriction that we may or may not want based on the culture of communication, that we want to have in the city. So I'll give you an example, because I've chaired meetings as a plan commission member and clearly as a mayor, but We've done public hearings before, for example, where, let's say we had 50 people coming because we were talking about rezoning for multifamily or a gas station or something. I don't know if we've ever actually rezoned for a gas station, but I've often instructed people and said, hey, just for the sake of time, you're always free, this is what I've said in the past, you're always free to say whatever you like, but let's say that the person before you says everything that you were planning to say. Like if it's word for word or, thing for thing, like your same issues, please feel encouraged or welcome to consider just saying, I agree with everything that guy said. And then that way it speeds things, but I've always, as a chair, allowed people to say, if I want to say the same thing but differently, I can. Something that I have never worried about too much, because at the end of the day, I've always leaned towards let people say what they want to say in the allotted time, as long as you stick to the allotted time. But Dan, I guess what I wondered, and I'm not saying that I'd want to do this as a rule, but I'm wondering if this is what it's saying already. Let's say we were having a public comment or a public hearing on, let's say it was for a gas station rezone, and someone came up and started using their 2 minutes and 30 seconds to talk about how much they think everybody should go and try the new drink at Dunkin'. Are you saying that the chair, under these rules, will be able to say, sir, like, you are not talking on the subject matter? Or, I guess I'm saying, like, would that be an example of something being regulated where?
Yes, that would be something that thus the chair could regulate, because the topic is the gas station. And again, if you're talking about something different, the chair could say, well, you're out of order. You're not being arrested, it's just you're out of order. This is for this topic.
And that's where, and again, I'm just expressing some of the, when I say concerns, I don't mean like, oh my goodness, I mean like things that I want to make sure we're addressing before we finalize any written rules. Now, I could be silly. That person might start by talking about the Dunkin', and then he switches to saying, I'm opposed to this gas station because their coffee's never going to compete with this. Now, I've made this example up. I've just tried to say that if it might be better, in my opinion, I'm speaking as a chair who, when I have control of it, if someone is talking completely off topic for 2 minutes and 30 seconds, my style might be, well, let him talk about whatever he wants, and at one way or another, we've fulfilled an obligation to let somebody speak. And if you came here to get an opinion of either the opposition or the pro, it at least still tells you something about somebody. I guess I just want to err on the side of caution about content of what somebody, is talking about. But again, that's just an example of one of my preferences that I want to make sure we're considering, I'm sorry, my examples are silly.
For example, everybody out here in the audience got up to speak about the same disagreement or whatever their opinion was. It gives us, as council, more of an idea as to the view of our city.
Well, one other concern I have, it's section 3, where we prioritize, which I'm fine prioritizing city residents to speak. But then it says if time remains after all resident speakers have been recognized, but it doesn't say how much time we're allotting to the discussion. Is that 2 hours? Is it 30 minutes? Like, we're not putting a total on it, so who gets to determine if time remains? Yeah.
Well, and to echo on that, my concern is that I understand the concept of letting our residents of City of Portage have priority to speak first. However, we do have a lot of individuals who work in our city, who live outside our city, where something may affect them as they are working within our city. So I feel like it would be more fair that it's whoever signs in first versus only let's have the priority go to Portage residents when somebody who lives outside of Portage may have some insight to offer and they are not a resident of Portage.
Well, and that's where for me, and just to add in, I do like the signing in beforehand and there being a close, because I think that that's how you manage the time. It's important that it's always done, accurately, but is it okay if I say 2 minutes rather than 2:30, just so I can do some simple math? We can fix it, later. if you have a list of people who have signed up to speak and there's 10 of them, well, you know that there could be as much as 20 minutes is going to be commented on, versus if there's 2, you know it could be as long as 4 minutes. I think that it's really important that, we want to respect your guys' time, but part of what we sign up for as mayor and council is to hear from people. I think it's reasonable to say that you might have to hear from as many people as sign up, but at least you can do some multiplication to find out how long you're going to be here to gauge the rest of the meeting.
In regards to what you stated, Victoria, if somebody lived out of our city, what happens if it's somebody who's interested in moving to our city? They would have a right to speak, to know the views, if they want to continue searching our city.
I mean, I will give an example of a time where, and Liz will recall this, where it did get out of hand in terms of the number of non-residents speaking, where it literally didn't affect them. It was the wheel tax meeting where I think we were there for 5 hours, 4 or 5 hours.
One meeting was 4 hours.
And we had a
the
ton
other
of
one was-
non-residents that wanted to speak, but there was no way for us to control who got to speak. I do understand the need here. I just don't know that this is ready for us to adopt.
That's my view, too. My question really, I'm glad we had some discussion to show basically the variety of views on this. I guess my question is we could have a 10, 15-minute discussion like this for the next 12 council meetings and still not have something finished. I feel like for us to make some progress on written rules, if that's the desire, I mean, if you guys say, Austin, we want you to always be the guy in charge with the gavel, I'll take it. But I don't think it's the best policy long-term. I don't know if a special committee would be handy. I don't know if it's better for us to all just find some time to talk. I just don't necessarily want this to be a loop of every meeting where always philosophizing on what's the best public comment policy.
I'd like to make a motion to table this to allow us to have some more discussion, see if we can iron out some of the areas that we do have concerns about, and to see if we can come up with some mutual goals of what we can all agree upon.
Can we maybe just send this to the ordinance committee? Let the ordinance committee just keep tinkering with it, see if we can get to a place where we're comfortable with something that we think the council should consider. I just don't want, like the mayor said, I don't want this to come up every single month and it's just a continuous thing until we decide we're just not going to do it.
So, Colin, is that a competing motion? I guess I'm asking Victoria.
No, I don't think so.
No,
I think we're tabling it and sending it to the ordinance committee.
You're
and then
right, I'm sorry, procedurally, that's
The
the
ordinance
same.
committee, once we review it and decide whether or not to bring it back to the council, it just doesn't show back up on the agenda until it's in a better place. I just don't think it's there yet, in my
So I
opinion.
can amend my motion to say motion to table it and to forward it over to the ordinance committee.
Second?
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I think the simple thing is you guys are all really good people, and I hope I am too. Good people take time to consider these things and take it really seriously, so thank you.
While we're still on the subject, before we move to something else, I'm sorry. I know last time that we talked about this, I really pushed to have that extra 30 seconds. But upon reflection, I don't know if we should really be putting a time limit on our residents. I know that our times are all important and everyone has a life, but at the end of the day, this is what we signed up for. And if someone wants to stand up there and talk for 10 minutes about why they don't want data centers or why they don't want a new subdivision, I don't think that it is, I guess, our business or our say to say, hey, you can only talk for 2 minutes.
It's our responsibility to listen.
Personally, I would have let Mr. Cooper finish his, 20 seconds that he had to say, but
If he was really speaking for 20 seconds more, but
granted,
we'd see.
yes, but it's our responsibility to sit here on these Tuesday nights and listen to whatever anyone has to say, however long it is they have to say it. So I would like to completely take out Section 2 moving forward.
And I don't mean to add to this discussion, because it's been tabled, but I would just state, if you had one person come up and speak for an hour, and then we still had 5 more people in line, there does come a point where it's one thing for us to be here all night. I do think it's another thing for us to still be here Wednesday,
And I totally get that, and I also feel like anyone who is going to come up, they're going to respect our time and theirs, and they're not necessarily going to talk there for an hour.
Watching Colin's face.
I mean, maybe, but I also just feel like we shouldn't be limiting, I just feel like we shouldn't be limiting anybody to 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and section 2 should be taken out.
After this meeting's over, I'm going to text you the SpongeBob Hall Monitor acceptance speech. For those who are, Z clearly knows what that is.
Something to joke about, but like at the end of the day, it's really not something to joke about. Like, this is our residents who feel. These are our residents who feel a certain way, and if we're gonna be here until 11 o'clock at night, so be it. I've been at a planning commission till 10:30 before, because we let the residents speak on what they wanted, and so that's just
Oh,
how
yeah.
I feel.
No, I totally get it. The spirit, I totally get it. I don't know if people going for an hour, like one person, is a good idea, but I think that we can figure out some way between there.
And
All
so I'll
right.
take that opportunity to invite members of the public to our next ordinance committee meeting so you can have a role in shaping and crafting our upcoming ordinance so that it takes people's considerations into account. And I think that's what the purpose of tabling the ordinance was for today. And as the chair of that committee, I'll let you talk as long as you want. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Ordinance committee meeting will still be going on at the time of the council meeting, but that's okay.
And just to piggyback on that, that next ordinance committee meeting would be Tuesday, August 4th at 5:30.
Thank you.
Last thing I'll say before we move on, I'm sensitive to the fact that I talk and talk and talk quite a bit. So it should be, to put it simply.
Simply put.
So we have matters not already considered before the council. So we do have, and you guys should have received, a copy of the proposed police contract. It passed the union, Chief, I believe, last week. Am I correct? I mean, it passed in the previous week, last Wednesday. This was something that my team, we were very proud to work on this. A big thing for us was putting together the finances to be able to afford the raise. It's getting harder to be able to do raises in the city, and I can't promise that we're gonna, well, I should be very careful. I can't promise that we're always gonna be able to give raises to the extent that we always want in a given year with the way that Indiana is going with the financing of cities. So much as we can, I think it's always important that we're prioritizing public safety. And I appreciate the work of the clerk treasurer's office to help us put together the financial side to make this possible. That said, it is before you, and happy to answer any questions, or if you need the chief, he might know more about policy aspects to the contract.
I'll ask a brief question to Clerk Treasurer Modesto, as I do every time we try to pass one of these budgets. Can the city afford, or pass a contract, can the city budget afford this contract as it's currently written and as it stands?
I will say this. We do have the money this year to pass this contract. We carried over a little extra of lit, and me and two of my staff members, along with the city attorney in Austin, met, and we will be draining basically that. We will have $199,000 to make it through the rest of the year. So if any of the department heads have any emergencies or anything like that, then we would have to look at other avenues if it goes over $199,000.
So Liz, what you're talking about is the unappropriated lit. So at the end of the year, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So we did not budget for this contract. We did budget for this increase, or this CBA contract, so we would have to do additional appropriation. And I'm praying that all the department heads stay within their budget and we have no catastrophes so we can make it into next year. And we will be taking out another tax anticipation warrant. Whether you pass this contract or not, we still need to take that tax anticipation warrant out. It depends actually on how much we're going to get for that tax anticipation warrant. And we're hoping that we will get some revenue. The mayor is working on a number of things, and we're hoping that we can basically get some revenue to carry over into next year, other than just $199,000.
So, I'm sorry, we good? What we did last year in 2025, in the second half of the year, in anticipation that money was going to be getting tight, the clerk treasurer's office and I, we reviewed expenses, and Tammy was a huge help on this last year. We made a lot of cuts. I don't know if the correct term is cuts to the budget, but cuts in terms of what was available to spend.
At the end
And
of the year.
by the end of the year, we ended up with $1.2 million left over.
Actually,
Now,
1.8.
1.8 left over? I was operating on the 1.2. But anyway, well, you must have hid some from it. No.
We actually spent 600,000 right off the bat.
Oh,
You
no, because it
remember,
was
right, in
part of our
January?
cover from the
Yes.
following, yeah. So it was 1.8, and early this year, we had 1.2 of it left. And so what that led to was we moved 350,000, it might have been, was it 365, Liz?
No, 350. 350,000.
350,000, I believe, in April was moved at our request to you guys to be able to help the MVH fund get through till we hit the next tax draw. If you guys remember, in 2025, the MVH budget was so tight based on funding. I said I said in 2025, if we have no snowstorms in 2026, this budget will make it through. And by April, we had so many snowstorms, the budget was not going to make it through. So we moved 350,000 of that unappropriated lit. And the reason that it was unappropriated is you guys passed a budget correctly in October that was based on the idea that that money would be spent. Because we saved it, it wasn't spent, so it was left unappropriated, had to be appropriated, in that case, for the street department. So with the remaining revenue, we have the ability to get through this year with this contract, planning for this contract the following year. It's a one-year contract, so there's not a raise the following year or the raise after. We have to sit down with the police again to figure out the contract for next year, which, as I say, 2027.
Correct.
To put it simply, we can't necessarily promise that we're always going to be able to raise amounts every year, but with proper budgeting, I believe we can pass this and then set next year's budget to be able to handle where we are now.
And so,
I guess that's the answer to your question. And we do have enough money to do an additional appropriation, but it's going to be very, very tight going forward.
and if there's a catastrophe, what have you, God forbid, then what? Right?
Then-
199,000, that seems like that's pretty easy to spend. That can go pretty fast for any kind of catastrophe. Right, what happens if, worst case scenario? Because as the mayor already said, we already had that happen last year.
We would have to, me and the mayor would have to discuss as far as getting it from another source.
To be fair and to be clear about it, that's 199,000 left of the unappropriated lit, not 199,000 left of the total lit. What that also means, though, is that just as we made cuts at the end of 2025 to make sure that we had money at the end, that's what we're already working on, is what cuts we make now that we're in the middle of the year, because we've also had time to see what was the budget for 2026, what do we have a surplus in, what have we spent in different line items, how can we conserve the money that we have for the rest of the year.
And that's what we're going to be looking at by June, or July 15th. We have to, that's one of our report deadlines, and we will know by July 15th exactly going forward if we are going to have any additional, as far as if any of the departments aren't over their, if they're going to be over their budget, under their budget. So we're hoping that there are going to be some that are going to be under. We do know Marina is probably going to be under.
Well, Marina's now part of the park
Yes.
budget, but yes. Mhm. And we have a plan for that, too. But to be clear, it's not we passed this contract and we have just $195,000 left. It's $195,000 left of the leftover money. I hesitate to call it a surplus, but the leftover money from last year's lit. Wouldn't call it a surplus because the city didn't have a surplus, but we had more
We'll
lit
have
than we expected.
199,000 that we will be able to currently, until we look at July 15th to find out if we're going to have any more, so,
Well, the
to do additional appropriations
Sure.
for.
What I mean is the rest of the lit for 2026 is part of the 26 budget.
Yes. Does that answer your question, Ferdinand?
It does, thank you.
Any other questions? Yeah, you can motion.
I'll make a motion to adopt.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And it passed. Attorney Bartnicki, the contract was passed, and that reflects the desire of the fiscal body. We have the salary ordinance that got the first reading. As it applies to the police, I guess my question is them passing it here unanimously enough to go back? Or if we wanted that salary ordinance to take effect for the police contract, would someone have to motion to bring that back? I apologize, this might have been better if this had been in a different order, I don't know.
Well, I mean, so the zoning, I'm sorry, the salary is an ordinance, so the rules.
We can go ahead and pay the salaries, yes.
Okay, well,
But
never
I'm
mind.
not sure if my office is going to be ready to, well, we'll be ready to pay the salaries, Carrie? Yes, but just not the back pay.
And I think that's consistent with past policy of how we've gotten the retro caught up.
So the second reading, as long as they have a CBA passed. My office is going to need some time to make sure they calculate the back pay correctly.
And absolutely, and I think that people understand that. Any other matters to bring before the council?
Yes, I do want to make an announcement as far as a utilities liaison is now going to be Melissa Weidenbach. Councilwoman Weidenbach will meet with Tracy and continue to represent the council on that note.
Thank you so much.
I also have something, if that's okay.
Oh, go for it.
Can you hear me? I know this has been a long meeting already, but I feel like both of these are important, so I wanted to address them. On Ordinance 2608, updating and amending Article 3, firearms and ranges, I was just hoping that that ordinance could be amended to include language that would make provision for people to be able to shoot BB guns and pellet guns and bow and arrows in their backyard. And I was hoping that that ordinance could be amended to include language about the safety measures that would need to be in place. Because at the end of the day, we're all elected to protect our residents' freedoms. We just had our 250th anniversary, and I just don't feel like it's right for us to restrict people's freedoms in their backyards. So if we could, I don't know, Attorney Bartnicki, if that needs to be.
Do you mind, Dan, or Penny, would you be okay if I said something to you? And again, I know you got another thing too. So my understanding, and I'm sure Dan can back this up, so it's had its first reading, and so it's going for the second reading on August 4th. At the second reading, you have the ability, and every council person does, have the ability to propose amendments to it. So as written right now, it'll be like presented, as written or as like currently written at that meeting. Dan Bartnicki is available for every council person. So if you wanted to, either by email or in person, meet a time with Dan. I'm not instructing him, he's your attorney, too. If you wanted to prepare like an amendment that has the right legalese for what you want to do, again, as Dan said, either here or at the last meeting, he's an employee. So if every single one of you has a different amendment that contradicts each other, he'll help you write each of them. It's just that we need to keep track of who is who. But I just want to make sure you know that Dan's not just my attorney, he's the city's attorney.
Thank you. Okay.
Sounds great.
And then my second, how to, if it's the same thing, if next time we could amend it. But it's ordinance 2609, amending the zoning ordinance. I think the business tech, the ordinance for that, I think is wonderful. But there are some things that I was hoping that we could add to it. So I didn't know if that was something that I could bring up now, or if that needs to be if we need to wait for the second reading on
It's
that also.
entirely up to you as a council person, but same idea. If there's any amendments you want to consider and even consider the feasibility, you're always welcome to talk to Dan to get that made. And that's true of everybody.
Okay, well, I should probably just say them publicly, anyway.
Yeah, you can state those now, that's fine.
Okay. On page 4, the general perimeter standards, it states that the allowable decibels shall not exceed 65 decibels. And I was hoping that we could amend that to 55 decibels. The second thing on that page I wanted to address was that I was hoping that developers would give us a written emissions procurement plan so that we knew how what their plan is for getting rid of their noxious particulates and things like that. And also, if it would include third-party monitoring of those emissions. And then on page 5 for the setback, it mentions a 500-foot setback, and that's fine if it's Tier 4 EPA standards for generators, and if not, well, I don't know, I wouldn't vote for anything that wasn't EPA Tier 4, but 1,000 feet for at least 1,000 feet for hyperscale. I would like to be amended to say that. And then 2 other things on that. I was hoping the ordinance could have a cost recovery agreement so that the developers would agree to some kind of cost recovery agreement in case a resident has some kind of health-related issue because of the data center, so that we're not spending taxpayer money on attorney fees for that kind of thing. And then all promises from the developer be written into the contract. And that's it, thank you.
And those are all, I just want to say, really wonderful suggestions. You're welcome to talk with Dan. I'm also going to be on the 13th, which I believe is next Monday. I'll be doing another Mayor's Monday where we present the current ordinance proposal as written and going through. I would invite everybody to come if you want to learn more about how it is as written. One of the things, and I'll just say this to be brief, there are rules that are very easily enforceable within a zoning code, and then some are enforceable within conditions for things like a zoning change, like the written commitments. So being able to put that together and explain it, I think will go a long way too, because I appreciate every concern that you have.
Thank you on that one, I appreciate your, and I also wanted to thank our Plan Commission for getting up and explaining a little more detail that a lot of our residents are not aware of, so thank you.
Anything else to come before the, Commission? Anything else to bring before the board or a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion to adjourn and a second, and we were an hour, no, when did we start, 6:30? It's 8:03. We still were okay compared to some cities. And all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oh, I'm aware, but Liz and I talked, we're going to have to bring that up separately.